Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea. That's what I'm drinking this morning, or your hydrogenated water, and sit back and relax while we chat about what is happening up in the stars above for the week of March 24th through the 30th. And it's quite the week. If we sit back and think about all of the things that we've been talking about through the whole month of March, that everything seems to be culminating, coming together today, and not today, this week. And that means, a lot of the different things that we've talked about in terms of eclipses and Neptune moving into Aries and all of the different human design things are all sort of coming together in this one day or one week. And this is as we prepare for moving through a gateway that is the new moon solar eclipse on Friday. So, today we're going to talk about all of the different things that are making up this week, including, interestingly enough, a move by the sun and the earth into this, or by the earth, excuse me, not the sun, but the earth into the spleen center. And the spleen center in your human design is a center that fields energies like intuition, like your immunity, like survival and or thriving energy, success energy. And as well, it also includes the potential for the fearful expression of each of the gates that sit there. So we're going to talk about that first, and then the sun in the gate 17 and the earth in the gate 18. And then we have several transits to talk about this week, all culminating in some interesting moves as Venus will retrograde back into Pisces and right into the arms of Neptune. And then just a day or so later, Mercury does the same thing, retrogrades back into Pisces and back into the arms of Neptune. It's almost like they're embracing for a final last dance before Neptune moves into Aries. And I just find it poetic. I find it mystical. And I mean, the imagery, when I think about it, is pretty fascinating. And I want to talk about that as well. And then we'll probably dip a bit into the solar eclipse that occurs on Saturday, the 29th. And of course, included in this week is Neptune's epic move into Aries for the first time in 165 years. Count them, people, 165 years. First time in our lifetimes that this planet of spirit and mysticism and disillusionment moves into that sign. And interesting, right? It's interesting times that we live in. So, good morning to people who are showing up. I saw J Lo, you popped in first this morning, and Julie second, and TD Hawk. Good morning to you as well, and anybody else. I can see there's more listening behind the scenes, but if you come in to either live YouTube or live Facebook, you can comment and chat with me as we move along. So, as you guys know, every year between the last week of September and the first week in November, the sun is moving through all of the gates of the spleen, bringing up to the surface the fears that we have, the potential to express the shadow energies hidden and encoded in our DNA. And most of those fears are around survival, right? And it evokes things like fear of inadequacy, or a fear of failure, or a fear of life having no meaning, or of being judged or judging. So all of these different fears come to the surface very powerfully during those months with the sun transiting through there. Well, here we are 6 months after that point in time, and now it's the Earth's turn to move through all of the gates of the spleen center. And from March 24th, today, through May 2nd, Earth will transit through the gates of the spleen. And the theme here then is from fear to wisdom, as the Earth's healing passage through the spleen center creates the opportunity for us to ground in a new reality. So I'm going to share my screen first off this morning so that we can see the spleen center and where it is. You might have your own human design chart with you this morning so that you can take a look and see how it looks in your own personal chart. And I'm going to share my screen, and here we go. So here's the spleen center. And the spleen center, I showed the blue are the ones that will be hit over the subsequent weeks. And the 18 right here, this is the gate that the Earth is sitting at starting today. And the spleen center is one of the awareness centers in the body. And it governs intuition, instinct, timing, immunity, health and wellness, and our relationship to survival and fear. And it's also the most ancient awareness system or center, excuse me, in the human body. And it's rooted in the body's immediate awareness or perception of what is safe. And it comes up from deep within the body. It's body awareness and instinctual awareness. The spleen speaks in the now. It doesn't speak into the future. It quietly and instinctively knows what is correct and what is not. It doesn't shout like the mind or maybe the emotions, but it whispers, and it whispers guidance from deep within the physical body. So the Earth's transit then through the gates of the spleen will whisper to us about, maybe as a collective invitation, if you will, to move from fear to the embodiment of truth or from instinct to trust. So each week we'll explore a different gate or a different fear based theme and the gift that becomes available as we align with integrity and presence. And it's a difficult transit for some of us because, sometimes the fear comes up unbidden, like we don't expect it. We think we've been through this, we've been there, done that, we should be over it. But then something happens in the outer world and it triggers us. So we have an opportunity then to start to move through some of the fears that we are experiencing. Now, I'm going to do just a quick rundown of all of them, and we'll go deeper into each of them as the weeks come up. But just as an overview of what it is we're looking at. So, the first gate we are going to deal with is the 18. This is where the Earth is moved today. And this is called the gate of realignment in human design, quantum human design. In traditional human design, this is called the gate of correction, sometimes called the gate of judgment. And it's the fear of being judged or fear of not being perfect. And also the fear of authority comes up in this gate. And when we're operating in the gift of this particular gate, we're operating in integrity. We're operating with precision and we're healing perhaps ancestral patterns, something deep within us that causes us to feel either not perfect or feel like we need to be more perfect and or be judgmental of others in their relative perfection or imperfection. The following week, we end up in the gate 48, which is called the gate of wisdom. And it is the fear of inadequacy and not knowing enough, right? This is the gate when it's defined for us by birth, where we often feel like we need more study. We need to read another book. We need another certification. We need more college courses, whatever it is. There's something within us that keeps calling us to get more information. The problem is we're looking for that information from outside of us. Instead, we are meant to recognize that we have a well of wisdom within us that we can call up at any time in response to whatever situation we are in the moment. Remember, the spleen operates in the now. The gift expression here is depth. It is the resourcefulness that is deep within us. It's the natural genius that we each have that promotes our awareness, our knowingness, right? After that, we go to the gate 57, a gate of intuition. This is literally the most psychic gate in the human design template, and it is the fear of the future. or a fear of the unknown. We don't know what will happen, so we act to protect ourselves, or we don't want to look further out into the future because we're afraid of what it holds. And this will be an interesting gate when we get to it. It'll be 2 weeks from now, because of the vast amount of change energy that is happening. And how is that impacting us? And are we moving through the threshold of this Aries ingress of the sun, and then Mercury and Venus going back across that gate eventually, and then Neptune, and then Saturn, all moving through this very threshold, portal, gateway energy to something new, right? So it could really trigger our fear of the future at that point in time with this vast amount of new energy. And the gift expression of the 57 is instinct, it's clarity, it's attunement to the subtle energies of, that are around all of us, that we can tap into at any moment to lead us in the right direction. After that, we'll go to the gate 32, which is called the gate of endurance, but it's got a fear that we should all probably be familiar with, and it's about the fear of failure, or the fear of not surviving. Like we won't be able to get where we want to go. Our goals are like moving guidelines as we keep going toward the goal. It's elusive. And the gift expression here is preservation, it's continuity, and it's this inner strength that we have that we could call up to keep going in pursuit of our dreams, our goals, or our aspirations. It is the never give up kind of energy on the spleen center. Then it moves into the 50, and the 50 is called the gate of nurturing. It sits on the very feminine energy that connects right here. The gate 50 will connect to the 27 on the sacral center, which this is the energy of the divine feminine. And its fear is about responsibility, or the fear of failing your family or your friends or your tribe, or just the fear of failing others. And so it is a place where, when it's defined, sometimes we're learning about how much control we have or should have over others in our lives. I mean, the real energy is meant to be nurturing, caring, giving, teaching values. It is a teaching gate, teaching the values to our children or to the tribe or to the people that you're in community with, and then allowing them to become responsible and use the wisdom, the knowledge in their way, right? We can't control every step of that. And so, in the highest expression in the gate 50, what we have is values and care and protection of the tribe, right? Teaching the values that allow the tribe to survive. It's a very feminine energy. Then we'll move to the gate 28, and the gate 28 is called the gate of challenge, and sometimes called the gate of adventure, where the fear is that life is meaningless, that all of the experiences are all for naught. Like, why did we go through this? And yet, on the other hand, it can become a gate when it's defined that is a little bit daring, right? Risky behavior, the adrenaline junkie. Notice it's called challenge or adventure. And adventure meaning sometimes this is the fear that life is meaningless. So I'm going to do everything I can to feel that adrenaline surge that makes me feel alive. But in its gift expression, the gate 28 is about purpose. It's about having purpose. It's about boldness. It's about learning through experience. And then finally, the gate 44, the last gate in this 7-week transit, is about truth. The gate 44 is called Truth in Quantum Human Design, and it is the fear of the past, specifically the fear of the past repeating itself. So it is a gate in its highest that operates with pattern recognition. It notices that I've taken this step, and that this was the step I took next last time and it blew up. So maybe I can course correct. It is the wisdom in relationships. It is foresight, right? It's foresight, being able to see what the pattern is leading us to. So each gate here on the spleen center brings up an old fear, but it also reveals a new strength. And the earth grounds in the process of moving from resistance, which is fear, into embodiment, which is the gift, right? Becoming something more. And it is one of these gates, or the spleen isn't about pushing fear away. We don't want to push it away because it'll just come back. It's about listening to what it teaches you. It's about healing where you've maybe inherited survival patterns from your family or from your experiences earlier in this life, and allowing the body's deep wisdom to guide you toward wholeness, toward success, right? Okay. Let me check back real quick to StreamYard, see how people are doing. Good morning to everyone who's checking in. I see Asa and Colleen. Good morning. JLo says, reminder, smash the like button and the thumbs up button. Thank you very much. I always forget that. So if you're listening this morning and you're liking what we're talking about, hit the thumbs up button or the like button, depending on whether you're on Facebook or you are on YouTube. And then share with your friends and your networks. Good morning, Paulette Peasley. She says, raining here in Burlington, and I swear it hasn't stopped raining here on Samish Island either. It's just that time of year, I guess. And TD Hawk has the 48, the 57, and the 44. Wow, right? So it sounds to me like TD, you are going through some fear changes in this lifetime. And good morning to Tina. And I've missed you too. Where have you been? Been busy, I bet. And good morning, Jana and Joan Durchie and Patty Hickox and TJ Hickox, that means as well. Good to have everybody. I saw Terry out there too. I forgot where you went. There you are. And good morning to all of you. All right, let's go back then and talk about um, let's talk about the gate 17 and the gate 18 more specifically now. So the gate 17 is up here on the ajna. The ajna is the center for um, thoughts and memory recall, and it is sort of the comparing and contrasting. If you want to, you could think of it sort of as the computer part of the mind, where all of the thinking patterns are and how it is that we move through information. And the Gate 17 theme is about visionary insight. In the gene keys, the Gate 17's highest expression is omniscience, right? The ability to see all, know all, and be prepared because you are engaged with the bigger, larger picture. It is also a gate of logical thinking and forward planning. We call it in quantum human design the gate of anticipation, as in we're anticipating the next step. It has a very scientific flow to it as well. It's very mental oriented energy. And in the traditional human design, this was called the gate of opinions. In its highest expression, this is where we share ideas with clarity and openness, and we can offer inspired opinions based on logic and potential patterns, recognizing though that they're only opinions. It's only an idea. It has not spent enough time in the reality field yet to prove whether it is real or not real, or false or true. They're just opinions, right? Just ideas. In the lowest expression, this ends up being rigid thinking, the potential for rigid thinking and needing to be right, right? And dismissing other perspectives because in your opinion, and your opinion is the one that counts, this is the way it is, and the other person on the other side is like, well, in my opinion, this is what it is. And it can be a form of separation if we lean too far into our opinions. Remember that a truth is only a truth once it has been proven. Like, we know the sun rises in the east and sets in the west because we've seen this happen repeatedly over time. We can prove it scientifically, we can measure it, we can view it with our own eyes. But when we take something like a truth, whether what a politician is saying is true or not, you're going to have people's opinions, right? Depending on where they get that news, perhaps, right? One person's going to say this is the righteous, words of this man and or woman, and this is the other person saying he's an idiot, she's an idiot, she doesn't know what she's talking about, and we get these two different opinions, and everybody has one, right? Everybody has one. So the opportunity here for us this week with the sun highlighting this particular gate up here is this speaking your truth without attachment to it, and or without attachment to needing to be right, right? Just what is it that you believe? What is it that you think? And then allowing anybody else to have a different opinion because they might have a different opinion, a different viewpoint. It doesn't make you right and them wrong. Unless they're telling you the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, right? A proven fact, just because we have flat earthers out there that insist that the earth is flat, even though we have plenty of evidence that it isn't, doesn't make it real, right? So we're dealing with truths and facts. And yet, this is also a week for us to explore visionary thinking while staying grounded in compassion, right? Understanding that, not everybody sees things the same way. Not everybody has the same skills to see things the way that you do, right? It's a very interesting energy for this week. So be mindful how your thoughts are shaping the reality or the future outlook, because this particular gate is about that kind of anticipation of what comes next. So maybe for reflection, you can ask yourself, are you sharing your ideas as an invitation or as an imposition? Right? Are you sharing it as throwing out an idea to the group, or are you adamant that what you're saying is right and everybody needs to come over to your side? Right? It makes a difference. So gate 17 here in the Ajna, and then the gate 18, which we spoke about briefly earlier, is called the gate of realignment in quantum human design and the gate of correction in traditional human design. And the theme in this particular gate is recalibration. It is about healing patterns, it is about integrity. And there's a sense here of judgment. People who have this gate defined naturally are very good at criticism, right? I'm trying to be careful here because we all do this at times, but criticism in terms of being constructive, or at least that's their meaning or their purpose behind what it is that they're trying to correct for someone else. Because the 18 meets up over here with the gate 58, called the gate of joy or bliss, or the joy in mastery. So the 18 can see what is out of form or out of format that needs to be corrected in order to realignment with what is joyful or what is masterful. So most of the time, the energy of the gate 18 is about, correcting to make it more perfected, to make it more in alignment with mastery. But it can come across as judgment and or criticism. And of course, that's never really the intention. It's, they're just so easily jump to being able to see what's out of alignment. And remember, the spleen is so far away from the throat center. And without a connection to the throat, it really requires an invitation in order to correct, right? In order to state what it is that you see is out of alignment, you have to wait for that invitation or say, I'm noticing that this might be better if we do something different. Are you open to hearing? And if that person says yes, then feel free to share. But if that person is not open to sharing and they say, no, I don't, talk to the hand, then you have to be quiet, right? You cannot share your opinions or your correction here, right? So the high expression in the gate 18 is really about intuitive clarity about what needs to shift or improve, offering loving correction from a place of alignment when invited to do so. And in its low expression, it is about overly critical tendencies, right? And I think we've all, seen these people in our lives, that, are nitpicking at everything, that are judging everything that you say, everything that you do. And if you don't believe me, just go to Facebook, right? Facebook is one of those places, and go to Twitter or X, whatever it's called nowadays, because you see a lot of judgment, gate 18 gone wrong in those places. In in the real world, it's about perfectionism. And on the other hand, perfectionism, being overly perfectionistic, can really be a place where we stop ourselves from moving forward, right? This piece of art or this course or this book or this whatever isn't good enough. So I keep proofing and I keep editing and I keep redoing, realigning when I never get it out to the people that needed to see it, right? So it can be a place that really stops us from growth. So we want to be very careful. We want to use discernment both for ourselves and for others in what it is that we choose to say to people or how it is that we judge others, including judging ourselves. Ground your visionary ideas, the gate 17, right? Visionary ideas by noticing what needs healing in your own patterns first. What is out of whack in your own self that that idea can't come to fruition? Focus on self alignment before trying to correct the outer world or what you see in the outer world. So, a reflection prompt perhaps for this week would be what in your life or in your work is asking to be lovingly refined rather than judged or fixed, right? Just realigning. So it is an interesting dynamic this week with the 17 and the 18 because it's blending vision plus realignment. And it brings this dynamic interplay between the ajna and the spleen center to correct what's out of integrity. And together they support balancing our future focused logic and with present moment intuition. So we're balancing both hemispheres of the brain, if you will. And we're letting go of the need to control outcomes or to force change, both for ourselves, but also for others. And we have to trust the timing of insights and wisdom in the realignment because the spleen only operates in the now. It does not dwell in the past and it does not necessarily look for the future. It is the sun at the gate 17 that has the visionary future. The 18 is asking us to concentrate right now in this moment. What can I align or realign to get me on the right track? Right. I hope this all makes sense to everybody. Let me stop sharing and go back to StreamYard. How's everybody doing out there? Any questions on all of this? Good morning, Gayla. Tamara, yes, have done a lot of work in healing in that category with the spleen center highlighted. And yes, that does explain a lot. And we all have a spleen, right, or the spleen center. It's not anatomically the spleen, but it is the spleen center. And it's a center where if it's open, um, your fears are kind of based about on who you are around and what's going on in the collective, right? You don't naturally have a fear of a certain, or it doesn't show up consistently, let's say. But the spleen center, when it's open, is also open to intuition that's coming to you from all over. And sometimes that can make it more difficult to understand, is this intuitive guidance or is this something else? And if you have this center defined, then the center is always going to be broadcasting whatever the themes are from the different gates or channels that get connected. It's always going to have a sense of timing, and whatever that timing is, I'm early, I'm late, I'm right on time, and it's going to always be consistent. Where someone with an open spleen center is going to have much less consistent timing. And let's talk about immunity because this particular center, the spleen center, is very valuable to us in terms of immunity. And when the spleen is open, let's say, you have a fluctuating immune system, but you also have a very powerful awareness of when your body is speaking to you in terms of what's needing to be taken care of. And an open spleen will be like, oh, I'm noticing that I keep getting headaches. Maybe it's time for a new pair of glasses, and they will act to take care of that problem. Where a defined spleen has a defined sense of immunity, and they are often the last to know that they're sick, right? They're the ones that someone else will say, "Oh, you're looking really tired today." And that person then says, "Yeah, I'm feeling really tired. I have, a headache. I might need to get more rest or something." And that leaves it open for another person to say, "Yes, go get that. You need that." So open spleen, defined spleen, they are going to be a little bit different in their way of expression in your body graph, let's say, or in your life. Okay, J Lo, or sorry, Sonia K. Good morning. I know nothing about human design. I look at my chart with oblivion. I hope to learn here. Absolutely, but you could also learn a lot by having your own personal human design session, which I offer on my website, and or any other person out there that does human design, because then it brings it to you personally, right? And it lands with you personally. J Lo, OMG, that is so me. With nitpicking, as I call it, with my projects. Yes, and you do, I think, have a powerful gate 17 defined. I can't remember if it's your Earth or your Sun. I don't remember, but anyway, I think you have that energy. Maybe it's your nodes that are at that. Catherine Worcester, good morning. She says, "Holy cow, crow, holy crow! I'm right across the lake in Vermont. If so, I'm across the lake. We have snow. Woohoo! I wanted to share something with you guys this morning. This is a time, I think it's always a time, but for this, but right now we're in the lead up to a solar eclipse later in the week. And it's a time to really watch for the signs around you, right? The signs from the planet. Like if you're sitting at a lake and you're noticing across the lake it's snowing, but it's not snowing where you are, is there a meaning, a symbolic connection that you can make? And interestingly enough, this morning, I was getting ready and I looked out my window and there was a pheasant walking through my yard. And immediately I went, "Yeah, I keep seeing this pheasant and it keeps walking through my yard." And I live in a residential community where we don't normally see pheasants. I mean, as I leave the island I live on, there's these flats, we call them the flats, and the pheasants are out there. But for whatever reason, one has come up on the island too, actually. This was a female, and so I thought, I keep seeing this. I should look this up. So I looked the meaning up, the shamanic meaning of pheasant, and this is what I got. It says the shamanic meaning of the pheasant includes renewal and resurrection as they shed their feathers each year and grow new ones, boldness, adaptability, and an awakening of consciousness, protection, abundance, and a strong connection to the spirit world, transformation, change, resilience, and adaptability. And I suppose I could read further to find out, but who needs to do that when everything that I just read is what I've been talking about for the last several weeks? And of course, it's been several weeks that I've been seeing the pheasant. And I could also go look up two deer because two deer are always lying in my front yard in the morning. And the cat seems like she needs to tell us about it. Like these things are in my yard. So just take a look. What's showing up in your world right now, maybe as a repeat, because it might hold meaning for you about the threshold time that we're about to walk through or that we are walking through. Okay, Anessa, good morning. So glad I stumbled upon you. I am a manifester studying astrology and human design, and you are a wealth of knowledge, right? Sort of the bane of my existence sometimes because I know too much and I know a lot about a lot of different things. And sometimes that means some people are not understanding everything that I'm talking about. But hopefully, since you're studying astrology and human design, some of what I am talking about will really help you deepen your own knowledge about those things. And J Lo, my pearl is at 17 and 18 is Pluto. Okay. So that's I must have seen your gene keys. What J Lo is talking about, the pearl is a point in the gene keys hologenetic profile. And we haven't talked much about the gene keys lately. Might have to do a talk on that soon. TD Hawk, traditionally, deer are often thought of as messengers of love from our loved ones who have passed. Interesting, because there's always two of them. One is younger and one is older. You can tell because of the size of the two. Both female deer. and interesting. All right, so now let's head into the astrology of the week. There's quite a bit going on, and here's kind of where some of the poetry of the week comes in. And I did something interesting this morning. I sent Asa a poet's view of the astrology for the week, and I can't wait to see what she's going to do with it in terms of my social media. So, Asa, I can't wait to hear. The first transit of the week is for today, and this is Mercury retrograde conjunct the Sun in Aries. I've also thrown out the word to you guys many times, Cazimi. It's when a planet is in the arms of the Sun, so close, really, that you can't really distinguish it from the other. So, in other words, visually, right now in the sky, we cannot see Mercury because he's in the glare of the Sun. And this is a sweet spot kind of for Mercury where it's in the heart of the sun. And even though Mercury is retrograde, this moment can bring us like a moment of clarity, like an aha, a download. Ooh, that makes sense considering that the download was the poet. The poetry. And some insight. And especially around communication or decisions that you're trying to make or your personal mindset. And this is an inferior conjunction of Mercury and the Sun, which means that this is the beginning of the Mercury cycle. So we could also think of this as a seeding time. And it's interesting that the Mercury cycle begins while he is in retrograde, right? The superior conjunction is when he's on the far side of the sun and they conjunct, but right now he's on the inside part of the sun, so between the sun and the earth. And it has a very new moon sort of feel. Only instead of emotions and our inner world, it has more to do with our communication, our mind, our decision making. And in Aries, this is bold, fast, instinctive thought processes. But because Mercury is retrograde, you may want to revisit or rethink something that maybe you've already initiated, especially with ideas that came up around March 9th through 10th, before Mercury went into the territory he's in now. So there's a vibe around this particular day, and it's about aha moments, right? The aha that I would go look up pheasant this morning. That I'm seeing this. Why haven't I looked this up before? Inner fire reigniting, something that you've been fascinated with or excited about coming back to you. Maybe clarity about your truth and what really constitutes truth for you. So, questions to reflect on today with Mercury sort of in the arms of the sun. What truth do I need to reclaim? Or where have I rushed to speak or act without alignment? Maybe you got to reel it back in. And what old conversation deserves a new voice? So we have both this opportunity for the aha or insight or something, that slams into us with recognition. We're like, wow. But also with the qualifier that Mercury is still retrograde and it might not be time yet to take the next big step. So being very circumspect about what actions you take today. Now, March 25th, tomorrow, Mercury retrograde comes into a sextile with Pluto in Aquarius. Now, these things should sound familiar to you because just last week we were talking about Venus, Cazimi, the sun, and Venus sextile Pluto. Remember, they're traveling, Mercury and Venus are traveling very close together right now. So this one, the Mercury sextile Pluto brings a very mental kind of depth to us and maybe transformational perceptions, being able to see things or investigate things in a different way. It's subtle. I don't know that anything is subtle really with Mercury and Pluto, but you might not notice it in the cacophony of all the other transits and so forth that are going on. But there's this subtle penetrating energy that can really help you restructure your thinking right now, or to see where you might need to realign to go back to Human Design Gate 18, or get to the root of an issue, or even reclaim your power through your voice. right? Where have you given your voice away? Or where have you not stood up for yourself using your voice? That kind of thing. Because Pluto's now in Aquarius, this dialogue is collective, maybe, or future oriented and boundary breaking. So Mercury is asking, do your words align with your evolving identity? And eventually it will be, do your words align with your evolving identity and your actions, right? That will come next as Mercury moves direct again. Now, the vibe is a mental alchemy, being able to do the mental gymnastics needed to understand things in a new way. Maybe there's some truth telling here, telling it like it is with an invitation. I mean, not trying to hurt people's feelings, reclaiming power through your narrative, through what you're speaking. And you might find yourself revisiting past ideas, maybe with new revolutionary insight into what it is that you need to do with that, having a revealing conversation with someone else, letting go of old mental constructs that have kept you locked into smallness. Pluto's the big picture, right? He's the transformation, the death, rebirth. And then if we tie this in with Venus, Venus's Cazimi and sextile to Pluto invited us to rebirth our hearts, our values, our dreams, our desires, and our self worth. And now Mercury picks up the same thread, only are your words and your mindset aligned with the version of you that you want to have emerge, right? So they're working on us. They're both inner planets, so they're working on us personally with this. All right. March 27th, Thursday, Venus retrograde re-enters Pisces and falls right into the arms of Neptune. Remember, Neptune is sitting at 29 degrees of Pisces. So as Venus crosses out of Aries and back into Pisces, she gets into that conjunction with Neptune. And this is pure ethereal energy. Um, it has a very creative and imaginative feel to it. It's very mystical, right? Mystical energy. And it's in that conjunction with Neptune, the king of the mystical, etherical energy. And this is dreamy. It's romantic. It's creative. It's possibly nostalgic as Venus is retrograde. It's ultra sensitive, perhaps. Pisces being a very sensitive, the most probably sensitive sign in the zodiac. And it's also potentially blurry energy, especially if you're not clear on what your boundaries are or your worth, and or you're not clear on what your creative energy is pushing you toward. So Venus in Pisces wants unconditional love, and Neptune dissolves the edges. And I want you to remember that both Venus now and Neptune are in the gate 25 on your human design that sits on the identity center, and it's called the gate of spirit. It is the gate of unconditional love and acceptance. In its shadow, it's constriction. It's constriction of the heart, bringing yourself in and holding yourself tight, afraid to live open heartedly. So this is something from the past, perhaps, where you've constricted yourself, and brought yourself small. And now you need to own a creative vision of something better, something more for yourself, an ideal. Maybe something you once longed for is floating back into your awareness, or coming back up for you to review. So the vibe here with Venus moving back into Pisces is really about rose-colored memories, because we look back and we kind of see things from a more romantic viewpoint, perhaps. Maybe there are soul connections that are resurfacing, because there's that kind of vibe as well. There's artistic downloads or creative downloads, and maybe divine longing, which what I mean by that is longing for the connection to spirit. So watch out though for going overboard fantasy wise and not enough reality. Watch out for martyrdom in love, idealizing or over idealizing someone in an unrealistic way. So use Venus moving back into Pisces, into Neptune, for revisiting old art or old poetry or music or spiritual practices that once lit you up, that for whatever reason just got set on the shelf. for healing heart wounds, through compassion, self love, unconditional love, tolerance, acceptance, all of those really beautiful spiritual high notes. Reevaluate what conditional love really means, or what unconditional love really means for you, for the world, for what we see is happening in the world at this moment in time. And of course, you can always ask the questions that are things like, am I seeing this clearly? Or am I just seeing what I want to see? Where have you over sacrificed for love, or for creativity? What have you what dreams are worth reclaiming, taking back off the shelf and dusting them off? So, this Venus Neptune moment is the emotional and spiritual mirror, kind of to the Mercury Pluto moment earlier in the week. So, today or tomorrow. And one is heart-based clarity and the other is mind oriented, right? Mind-based clarity through truth. But together they're trying to show you what's real, but also from the soul's perspective, not necessarily from the mind's perspective, right? Seeing what's true from the inside, right? Inside. And that brings me then to March 29th. So, Saturday, we'll talk more in depth about these next things on Friday. Um, but just, a couple of days after Venus meets Neptune, Mercury retrograde crosses over into Pisces, or retrogrades back into Pisces and into the arms of Neptune. So he's following her path. They are tag teaming this particular season. And this brings some mental softness to everything that's happening. Maybe even a trusting more of our intuition over logic. It's a deep call for us to listen beyond the noise. And there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise out there. But with both Mercury and Venus in retrograde, now conjunct Neptune at the final degree of Pisces, you've got to stay grounded because there's so many opportunities to get ungrounded here. We've got to stay grounded in truth, or risk floating away on some kind of fantasy. And the vibe here for Mercury moving into the arms of Neptune is really about dream weaving, right? I think today when I pull a card, I'm going to use the dream weavers. Um, there's possible spiritual downloads, there's psychic impressions, and the potential for seeing or facing illusions, whether they're your own or illusions that you have about the world. But still watch for miscommunication, right? This is a dreamy Mercury and he's already retrograde. So it might be very difficult to say the words that you need to say, maybe through mental fog or forgetting the important details or romanticizing the past. All of these things are potential. It's going to be great timing this week for meditation, for automatic writing. If you've never tried that, try that, for channeling, for divination, or dream journaling, reclaiming your spiritual or your creative truths or your creative projects that got lost in the noise of the year as things have been, kind of wonky. Um, then, of course, that leads us to the partial solar eclipse on Saturday as well. A solar eclipse occurs with a new moon. And as we know, a new moon is a time for setting intentions, but there's not clarity at a new moon. We don't have clarity about anything yet because it's in the dark. And the eclipse itself marks a beginning of a bold new cycle for us. I mean, we have several markers, right? But this is the sun now, and and the moon, their relationship. So it marks a new cycle that of courage, of self leadership, of self sovereignty, of moving forward boldly and courageously. There's a lot of courage that we are going to need to call to us over these next several months, several weeks, even. And now is the game changer time. The new moon is already a sort of game changer, and we jack it up a bit with the eclipse energy. So it really makes everything stronger, more powerful, more impactful. And a solar eclipse is a supercharged moon, right? It supercharges it. Even if it's a partial solar eclipse, which it is, even if it's not visible from where you are, it's there. It's acting in the behind the scenes, kind of in the ethers here. And this one is layered with depth, and there are retrogrades. We have Neptune's haze. We have Neptune at the 29th critical degree, Pluto's influence earlier in the week with the two inner planets, Mercury and Venus. It's like being called to rise. We're being called to rise while walking through the fog. I don't know if where you live you ever get ground fog, but there are times where here we have this fog that lies low on the grass or on the earth, and you can't really see your feet, or it might even come up, higher, and yet above, you could see blue sky. It's very weird. It's very disconcerting. And that's what this week might feel like, or this eclipse might feel like. But there's soul birth here, or soul rebirth here, fire starter energy. Um, and it's the moment where hopefully you choose to reclaim your path, to reclaim your truth, and to start living your true self. But the shadow side is impulsive and ego flare ups, right? Um, Initiating, but without having integrated the strategy. So there are things that we still need to be careful of. There's brave courage in stillness, right? Sometimes it takes courage to stand still, to not react, to not knee jerk and say or do something that's of an impulsive nature. Act with presence, not panic, right? No need to panic. Know when to leap and know when to pause. This kind of goes back to our Earth being in the gates of the spleen over the next 7 weeks. So, right, we're learning to act without panic or without fear. And the cosmic weave, if you will, of this week is really going to be a blend of Venus and Mercury and Neptune. And will, of course, have the eclipse asking the question, are you ready to live more purposefully? Are you ready to live more soulfully, more boldly? And it's not just a reset that we're going through. This is really a reckoning time and a rebirth. And of course, it's not done with that eclipse, because on Sunday, Neptune moves into Aries for the first time in 165 years, since the day after the Civil War began in the USA. So it has interesting energy with it. If you want more information on two things, one about the Earth being in the Spleen Center, I wrote a blog post this weekend and posted it on my website. So if you go to I'm going to put it up and share it. Living-Astrology. If you spell it right, it works better. .com. And up at the top tab, you'll see blog. Go to my blog and you'll find an article that is on the Earth in the Spleen Center. And I also wrote an article about this week's transits and going deeper into the fiery depth, really, of the Neptune in Aries transit. So that information is all up on the website. Such a fascinating time that we live in, don't you think? I mean, every day there's something new and interesting to say, to understand, to live through. It's not always comfortable. And I don't know that this is, comfort that I don't think we're meant to be comfortable right now. This is like somebody lighting the fire, the match to a fuse that your foot is on, right? It's causing you to take action and to move forward fearlessly, right? But not recklessly. Move forward fearlessly, but not recklessly. You don't need reckless. We just need fearless. Courage, right? Bravery. State your case, state your program, state your project, your art, your whatever. Okay. Let's see here. Dreamweavers. I love this deck. It is by Colette Baron Reed. I love the cover, the little jaguar in the moon. And the Dreamweavers, I think, is most necessary with both Venus and Mercury crossing over into into Neptune, into Pisces. I don't know. There's something there's just something so poetic about it. I wish I were a poet, um, because I think there's poetry in the heavens right now. All right, so here's the card. It says, "Only weavers know the time." It's card number 19, which of course is a 10 and is a 1. That is a very weird looking card. I'm not sure if that's an insect or a what, but that is the card. Only weavers know the time. So let's see what this means for us. 19. So the essential meaning is about releasing timetables. I love it. Trusting timing. So splenic, all the time in the world and the power to expand time. And the dream weavers know the perfect timing of your dreams to manifest in the outer world, but their timetable often does not coincide with your own expectations. Sometimes you can get caught up in worrying that you're running out of time, that you might have missed the proverbial boat for success, but this is false! Exclamation point. The universe doesn't operate in linear time. The Dreamweavers are moving the threads of fate and destiny around on the cosmic loom for your benefits right now. It's time to release your need to know the timing of things and trust that if you keep taking one step at a time, following the signs that sparkle in the mystical threads of synchronicity and serendipity, you will be so much happier. Can't believe this is the card we got today. Life is an adventure, so let go of your need to have things your way, when you want it, how you want it, the way you want it. The universe might have a better idea of what you need, so stay curious and stay open. You are so blessed, and what is truly yours will not be withheld from you. Trust in divine timing, and all will be well. I love it. There we go. Only weavers know the time. All right. Questions? Anything going on here? Weaver's grandmother spider also. Maybe that is a spider. You're right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know. It's almost, if you look at this, you can see spider qualities, but don't you also see like octopus? But also octopus has 8 legs or 8 arms. Interesting. So anyway, I love this deck. Um, and it does look like an octopus, JLo says. All right. Any other questions before I leave? Good morning, Terry. It's good to have you with us. And she says, "Oh yeah, bring it." Here we go. Right, we're going. A scarab. Ooh, that's a good one too, Catherine. I don't know, but it's a beautiful card. All right, guys, that's it for me. Wednesday, I will be on air with Tam, my cohort in the Energy Almanac, as we take a look ahead at April. I know it's early, but if we'd already be in April if we waited till next week to do it. I cannot believe it's April almost already. And on Friday, I will also be on air. So 3 opportunities this week to learn more about astrology, human design, and gene keys, or anything else we end up talking about. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you Wednesday. Bye for now.